your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Talk. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
We've been calling her the queen of martial arts flicks for the longest time. And here we are doing a full-fledged episode on her American movies. Or Western movies. So...
Well, that's because we kind of covered most of her very excellent Hong Kong films. And maybe in passing mentioned some of the less favorable Hong Kong films.
That's
but,
true.
Hey, we're talking about Cynthia Rothrock's American movies. Or English language movies.
Yes.
To be more accurate.
Yes. We're gonna try to be as fair as possible. Although I'm gonna put that asterisk out there already that I'm gonna be a little harsh. Cynthia, if you're listening, I love you. I really do. And if you go back and listen to our other episodes where we've covered your movies, especially Hong Kong ones, you're amazing, and I love the work you've done. Some of the Western outings are questionable at times, and that's how I felt most of the time as I was watching these movies. And we're gonna cover a lot of them, right?
Yeah, well, she's gone on record in many podcasts or many interviews basically saying that after the rise of her action stardom from the Hong Kong films, they wanted her back. She went back to the West after her contract ended in Hong Kong, and, she started making more action movies in the West. And the way they do things in America is not how they do things in Hong Kong. They take a long time to choreograph their action and their fight scenes, and notoriously in the West and in other places as well, they give you like a week tops. And if you're lucky, and on some of these smaller productions, I think she said she had like a day, maybe two, to do all the action in it. So if you can imagine cramming in 4 or 5 fight scenes in a day, it's not surprising the quality that came from it. So, you can watch her Hong Kong films and be like, oh yeah, all her American films suck. But you got to know context. There's no time, there's no budget, so this is what you're left with. Yes,
no, I'm well aware of that. I think for anyone listening, we should all be aware of that in order before we move forward. It's a little bit of that. Of course, the action is not going to be comparable to anything you get out of Hong Kong, obviously, or for prep time or whatever. But I feel like the movies as a whole, for the most part, were just... Well, I don't want to make blanket statements because it kind of depends on the movie, right? Because we're going to talk about a lot of them, and I don't know, Zero. I don't know how you want to do this, but I think we can just start with one that we both watched because we kind of went through a bunch of Cynthia Rothrock movies because we're like, you want to talk about Cynthia Rothrock? Sure, yeah. Let's watch everything that's on Tubi.
So I want to start by saying that I watched a film from hers that's a little more obscure, and I thought, I watched it and I was like, wow, there's a lot of action in here. I think we could save it for our Patreon section where we break down action. And that prompted me to go down the rabbit hole of watching more of her American films. And I realized that there's a lot of stuff that happens in her American/English language films. For example, she is maybe top billed on the poster, VHS, DVD cover, and then you watch the movie and you realize she's not really the star sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's a co-star, which is fine, but in the movie I watched, particularly that first got me started on this rabbit hole, she's like a supporting character, although she's top billed. So I was very surprised by the marketing, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised because she's the bigger name on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you look into Cynthia Rothrock's films that are not from Hong Kong, I was like, all right, what's the most popular one? And I think going into it, I think a lot of people probably know her from China O'Brien.
Yeah, China O'Brien. Well, this is the only one before we get into like our final film of the night. This is the only one that we've both watched together, or like separately, but we both actually watched the conclusion. So yeah, I think this is also like Cynthia Rothrock, like even herself has acknowledged, that this one is one that like really got her fame. I think even during from what I remember her saying, even during the filming of the movie, like she got a call from shoot, I forget who, but like she was supposed to be, she got a call for I'm blanking on the name, but like she was supposed to be working with the director of The Exorcist, and yeah, exactly, right. And she was supposed to be working, be part of another production with Sylvester Stallone, but the project fell through. But she just remembers the time that she was working on China O'Brien being like a very memorable one. So like that obviously isn't indicative enough of like the quality of China O'Brien, but you can tell that this was like she was definitely peaked in her career. She was like really up there at this point. So I'm not talking about the movie yet, am I? China O'Brien. What is the movie about? Oh man, I think you watched it more recently than I did. I watched this last week, and I'm already kind of blanking on the story.
No, I watched it last week as well.
What is the story then? Your memory's better than mine.
Oh God, I mean, I have the synopsis pulled up, so I'm just kind of gonna cheat and read from it, and we can comment it on it from there. A policewoman, expert and instructor in martial arts, leaves the city to stay with her dad, sheriff in a town with peace and quiet, or so she thinks. She gets plenty of opportunity to show her martial arts skill.
Yeah.
That's
that can summarize basically like all her movies. So here's the thing: after you watch 8 Cynthia Rothrock movies, your eyes just start to glaze over. But what I remember from the story is that she accidentally kills someone early in the movie, and she has to give up her badge. She moves to a small podunk town where she's from, and there are local authorities who are trying to elect a new sheriff, and it's a corrupt police force, and they're trying to, and they also end up well, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but I'm gonna say like they do Cynthia Rothrock wrong, and Cynthia Rothrock decides to run for sheriff as well. I think it's sheriff or
yes.
Deputy or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And then it becomes I don't know. I didn't know local elections involve fistfights, but that's exactly what the movie devolves into. It's just like like we have to stop the corrupt police force from remaining corrupt, and meanwhile, Richard Norton just happens to be there because he's just helping her at all times.
Yeah, Richard Norton famously pairs with Cynthia Rothrock on a bunch of her movies. They're also really good friends because of their pairings. So it's fun to see him in it. And Keith Cook also makes an appearance as,
Quiet
I believe, a Native American who decided to tape up his fist because of some weird backstory where he did something very violent.
Yeah.
And that rounds out our trio of, I guess, martial artists.
Yeah. And, well, here's the thing. Like, this is, out of the movies that I watched, this is probably the best in terms of quantity of fights. And I think that's like one thing that I drew from this movie was that like, wow, there's at least a lot of fighting, like, and I'd say even the quality is okay. And I didn't watch the same movies that you did, like you I think you have the opinion that like, like you watch better out of her Western films, which just means that I chose the wrong movies to watch. That's what it sounds like.
Oh man, yeah. We'll get into it as we talk more about the films, but. The action in China O'Brien it's quaint, I would say. When you
sure,
I think a lot of people when they think of Cynthia Rothrock, they think of like Yes Madam, Righting Wrongs, and that
Magic
infamous
Crystal.
final fight in Yes, Madam. It's bonkers. It's insane choreography, lots of action, lots of destruction, stuntmen falling, getting hurt. It's everything you want from a fight scene. And so we have to now scale back because we're in this, like you mentioned, podunk town where it feels incredibly uncomfortable to be a woman. And she's also running for office, for police office. So it's just a weird, strange little film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then the action is just kind of quaint too. Surprisingly enough, I didn't realize this was also directed by Robert Klaus.
Yes, that's right.
Famously
Enter the Dragon.
also did Enter the Dragon for Bruce Lee. He did Black Belt Jones for Jim Kelly. So he's like, he's the go-to director to kind of help, I guess, like these martial arts actors maybe strike it rich in the West, because that's what he did with Bruce Lee.
Right.
But then with everybody else, I guess it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah. I think from what I recall her saying, the way that she was describing it, and I don't know if this is true. I'm just speculating drawing conclusions based off of what she's saying. She said that like at the time when she got the call for China O'Brien, Cynthia Rothrock, she was living in Hong Kong. So I think this is the movie that brought her back to the States. Made her move back here in general. So yeah, and then this is officially her first American production, so it makes sense that we're starting with this one, right? But I'd say, action-wise, out of the movies I watched, with the exception of the last movie that we'll talk about, it's probably the best, and that's a pretty low bar. I'll give the movie this, though. The story is as simple as it is at times. It's straightforward enough, and I was moderately engaged because of the fact that it's you can follow along pretty easily. You kind of really you're rooting for her, and I guess to some effect Richard Norton. I have no idea what the hell Keith Cook's character does in this movie, but he's there. So story wise, I'd say that's a plus for the movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't too crazy about the action. I feel like she got maybe a few fight scenes to herself, and then I don't know what the direction was, but then it seems like they always have to shoehorn in Richard Norton and then Keith Cook into there, and then she doesn't really get her own at that point. And I guess that's okay, but I kind of wanted just her to kick ass because she's the titular character, but it almost seemed like maybe they didn't have enough confidence in her, so they're like, okay, well, let's get these other two to assist. You get some decent brawls because of that, but I was really hoping it was going to be something that really just highlighted Cynthia Rothrock's ability. And while she has some okay action moments in this one, this was not the movie to do that.
Yeah, that's going to be a recurring theme for the night, is that, she needs to be paired up with someone, almost like she needs to take a back seat.
That's the unfortunate thing. Like I mentioned, the marketing was heavily relying on her name, even though maybe she wasn't actually the star. She might have been the co-star, with someone else. But yeah, it feels like they're really leaning into the Cynthia Rothrock name. But then they're like, okay, well, she needs assistance from a lot of people. And because she's good friends with Richard Norton, she teams up with him a bunch. Yep. So that's fine. But then it feels, a little mischievous when she's top billed, but she's not really in the movie.
Oh yeah. Again, that will be a major recurring thing we'll be saying tonight. Overall, I actually would recommend China O'Brien. It's entertaining enough. The action's just so subpar, but again, that's my lens because I didn't watch the same movies you did, and compared to the movies that I will talk about in greater detail, it's gonna seem a lot more the most positive that you'll hear coming out of my mouth. Are we on to the next movie? Because I can talk about really quickly.
Sure.
Angel of Fury. So I actually don't have a lot to say about this one. It's really short, which I love. I love short movies. I love 70-minute movies. It's great.
I'm jealous. I love a 70-minute movie.
So I'm guessing based off the timeline with the release of this film, this is 91, 92? I think 92. If I understand this, I'm gonna assume that she went to Indonesia to film this movie, just to get away from the States, or maybe something relations to like the way that we do things here in the West. Like maybe she just wants to go back to her roots and film in Asia again. And this is closer in line with that. So. What is the story? There is oh my god, I actually don't even know what the story is. She is a cop. She's always a cop.
Yes, of course.
She's always a cop. She is.
Is she an expert in martial arts?
Yes. Holy shit, dude.
Two out of
2, man.
It's like I saw the movie.
Yeah, dude. If the next movie that you name fits that bill, it's gonna be, perfect. We're basically
is Richard Norton in it?
No, it's not. It's an Indonesian movie. It's an English language movie too, but I think it's just because it's dubbed. It's her actual voice, so. But whatever. It's closer in line. I'm gonna completely bypass the story, by the way, because that's not even important. The story is not as important as the actual action, because I think the story kind of is bland to me. I just know at the end there is a tape that they need to, not tape, there is a briefcase that they're fighting over, and there's some sort of MacGuffin in it. I don't know, I kind of glazed over because the pacing in the movie is, even though it's 70 minutes long, it's not engaging from a story aspect, but at least there's a lot of fighting. But it's an Indonesian movie in the early 90s, so it's extremely low budget. It is super low budget with local stunt talent, and it's actually Cynthia Rothrock doing it. And this is, if you guys were hoping for her early 90s era to go back to form, this is as close as you're gonna get, because once she goes back to the West, it's a lot slower and what you expect from American action movies. But here she's actually doing it, and she doesn't need a male co-star to kind of steal the limelight, and I appreciated this movie for that. But again, I'm gonna keep this short because I think that's where my praises end. Because at the end of the movie, she's not kicking ass anymore, and this one dude who looks pretty frumpy is beating her up, and I'm like, really? Why are you losing? It doesn't really add up. And the way that she defeats him is so pathetic. It is so anticlimactic. There's no martial arts involved in it. I'm like, are you serious?
Does he fall to his doom?
No.
Okay.
It's, oh god, it's even worse than it's just ends on a wet fart. Because it's you think that there's gonna be some sort of climactic battle at the end, and he's just manhandling her, to the point where he's just negating her martial arts because the script dictated so.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I think she just chokes him out, and then he just that's it. But he's not dead, and then they arrest him at the end, and then she just walks away. I'm like, what? That's the movie? I don't know how else to describe this film without going into great detail. And as someone who hasn't watched it, I don't think I need to expound on it anymore. I actually I'd say go check out the action scenes, because nothing stands out too much, but at least it's okay. I'd say check out the action scenes, but you don't need to watch the movie. And that's my super, super brief review of Angel of Fury. So you also have an Indonesian movie for me.
I do, yes. I watched Lady Dragon, which is also sometimes a nickname people give Cynthia Rothrock. So Lady Dragon is also an Indonesian film directed by David Worth, who also did Van Damme's Kickboxer. And this is an interesting watch, because I started off, as I started watching all these movies, I was like, I don't know if I have time to sit through this movie to find out if it has good action or not.
Sure.
Sometimes I hate sitting through an action movie and just thinking, well, that sucked. I just wasted all my time and the action's not even good. So what I did is I watched all the action first to decide if I was going to continue looking at it. And when I looked at the action, I was like, wow, not bad. This is actually not bad. It's not terrible. So I watched the whole thing, and the movie is about Cynthia Rothrock is trying to hunt down, I believe it's the person who killed her husband. He's in Indonesia, and she kind of she hunts him down, which is he's revealed to be Richard Norton pretty early on in the movie, and then he kind of rapes her, beats her up, and then leaves her for dead in the jungle. And what happens is she gets rehabilitated by a mute martial arts master and his grandson.
Okay.
There's lots of visual parallels to Kickboxer, like her learning to kind of do the split. Not learn to do the splits, but her doing splits on poles and then kicking the fruit that's hanging above and doing these sort of montage-esque training sequences. But then it's funny because the movie abandons all that, and it's her then trying to seek out Richard Norton again and then infiltrate his base without him realizing that they had met earlier, and then, hilarity and action ensue.
Oh, it's a comedy.
Kind
of. Oh, hilarity.
So the movie's pretty dull, but it is straightforward. It's so dull in the middle, unfortunately. Like, the training montages are not really interesting, and there's not really much to hone in on. But the action is surprisingly decent. So it kind of messes up in that they actually got a lot of coverage. They got so much coverage of the fights. The director decided to use so many different takes for instant replay type edits. So what happens is she'll start doing some choreography, and she'll do a big hit, and you'll see that same hit from 4 different angles, all at the same speed.
Okay. And
it gets extremely repetitive when you see this happen over and over and over again.
Interesting.
It's weird because there's an uncut version that has in all the instant replay edits, and the cut version, which is on Tubi, removes a lot of it. There's actually 10 minutes of action removed from the Tubi version. That's how much they put back in to these instant replays. And it's better in the Tubi version, but you still get a lot of repetitive action. It's a lot of back and forth choreography where it'll be her advancing on her opponent first, and then he'll go back, and then she'll go forward, then he'll go back. So there's a lot of just back and forth, and it's a lot of very simple kicks. Not so much hand trapping or anything like that. Like, it's like her doing a lot of kicks. And one of the things that stood out to me in the first fight, this really, really long fight, is she does a finishing move on her opponent, which is a jumping spinning kick. Very Van Damme, jumping spinning kick. They show this from maybe 10 different angles. You see the same kick, and she keeps on doing it over and over and over and over again. You kind of lose your mind. You get dizzy for her seeing her fight like this. It's so strange. This choice, this editing choice. I wish they had a different editor, because I think a different editor could have saved the choreography. Because when you watch it all together, you're just like, oh, something's there. It gets so repetitive because you see the same moves over and over and over again from different shots in these type of instant replay. So, yeah, it's strange.
Okay.
There's a really great car chase towards the end of the movie. You get a lot of side-mounted cameras on the cars. You get a lot of POV shots, and it just looks intense as she is driving on the wrong side of the road, and other cars are coming towards her, and other cars are also chasing her. It's all a stunt person, obviously, but it's actually pretty nicely filmed. And then the finale is her fighting Richard Norton in probably the longest English language fight scene I've seen her do.
Oh, interesting.
It's pretty long. It's them two going back and forth, and it's actually some decent choreography from the both of them. Like, they've both worked in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that because of their elevated skill level, they could just... I feel like they were just riffing on each other. Maybe not even having preset choreography, maybe just fighting, like really going back and forth and just having a good rapport that they could, maybe fake it.
Sure.
Like make a fake fight out of it. And it goes on for a while. And the thing that's disappointing is it's filled with those instant replay shots over and over and over again. And that it really ruins it. I wish they didn't do that. I would maybe do my own edit and just take those all out. And you just have a decent kind of brawl between her and Richard Norton that goes on pretty long. Right.
Okay, so it sounds like just overall pretty good praise of the movie, minus the dull moments in the middle, right?
Yeah, the action of this is actually pretty good. But like everything in the middle is just like, boring. There's not really any good action in the middle either.
That's so strange that you watched a Western Indonesian movie as well, and we have completely different experiences coming out of it. Angel Fear is not like that at all. So maybe the missing ingredient was Richard Norton. We just needed Richard Norton in the movie, and there you go. It would have salvaged my film. All right, so that sounds like a overall recommend for that, right?
Yeah, you could. I'd say check it out because I don't recall too many people talking about this one. I think a lot of people talk about China O'Brien. I personally think this one's better in terms of the action. Story-wise, like, China, like I don't really like China O'Brien either, so it's a little hard to tell. This is pretty simple to sit through, so this is a recommend.
Sure. Okay. Cool. And God, I clearly chose the wrong movies. God damn. All right. You actually watched the movie after this. Next movie we're covering, you watched. I actually wanted to watch this. I didn't get around to it. But Tiger Claws, right?
Yes, Tiger Claws. This is another interesting one. So this one isn't on Tubi. I had to seek this out. Because the majority of stuff we watch is all on Tubi, and they're kind of getting kind of blah. So I was like, all right, I heard this one's interesting. So Tiger Claws is kind of like a martial arts giallo film. You have
Italian, man.
Yeah, you have this murderer who's seeking out other martial artists, and he leaves a calling card which is striking them with these claw marks across their face of their body. And Cynthia Rothrock teams up with another I forgot his name. Teams up with another detective, and they soon realize, like, oh, he's using a very obscure martial arts style, like a tiger martial arts style. And so it's about them infiltrating the martial arts world, trying to find masters who teach it, and then trying to narrow down suspects based on who would have learned this very, very specific martial art.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No. That's a pretty standard. Well, like we've seen this story like played out multiple times. Like it's a murder mystery in kung fu, right? So okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I like the premise already.
Yeah. Pretty good premise, and the movie starts. She's the detective on the case, but what ends up happening is the movie kind of gets taken over by her co-star.
Dude, it's just a thing. That's just always what's gonna happen with these movies. Yeah, with her movies.
Right. It kind of sucks because we've talked about this guy. His name's Jalal Marhi. He was in, I believe it's TC 2000 with Billy Blanks. So he was also the fight choreographer, I believe, action director, fight choreographer. And so he is the one infiltrating the martial arts scene while she is the detective who's kind of staying behind and like listening in on his wire and whatnot. So halfway during the movie, it kind of turns into him and what he's going through and him infiltrating and whatnot, which is kind of a shame because like it's almost like they pulled the rug from underneath us. Like, hey, it's a Cynthia Rothrock film, but actually no, it's a Jalal Marhi film, which is it's not that bad though. Like, I feel like he's not as good of a on-screen fighter as Cynthia Rothrock, so a lot of the fights in the middle really revolve around him, and they're just okay. It's just okay. Like, it's kind of typical American martial arts stuff. But I think where the movie starts to shine is when Bolo appears.
Mm-hmm.
And Bolo, very famous for fighting Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, and then just infiltrating every Bruce Lee knockoff film as another villain. And so you have this big beefcake of a guy, and surprisingly, he fights Cynthia Rothrock, and it's easily one of her best fights, one of her best English language fights.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
why is that?
I don't know what it is. There's something about Cynthia Rothrock fighting a Western stunt person who doesn't have, I think, that Hong Kong training.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And like you can see, like, she has to go maybe slower. They don't have enough time to rehearse some of the fights. So, she's just doing moves. She kind of looks stiff sometimes, and it all just looks very quickly put together.
Right.
But her fighting Bolo, they have 2 fights together. There's something about the intensity, like her speed versus his power. Mm-hmm. It just looks so nice when they have their back and forth. Again, because it's a Western production, their choreography doesn't get to the same heights as her Hong Kong stuff, but you could see that her facing off against a more experienced on-screen fighter is gonna pay off with our entertainment. And
okay.
when she fights him, like, at the end, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good. It's actually not. It's not. Like, when you start watching, like, her Western movies, you kind of glaze over every time she starts. She fights a Western stunt person. So when I saw her fight Bolo, I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
But then what happens is, she kind of gets taken out of the movie for the ending, because then it's Jalal Murray who has to be the final person to confront Bolo, and it's all just like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I think, like, they had something with her fighting Bolo, and I wish they gave it to her in the end. But
you made it sound like that was the final fight, and that was like a major confrontation, but it sounds like a midway point fight, and
it's the fight before the final action scene.
Oh, boo!
So they give her something to do.
Sure.
And it's decent for her American fights, but then it turns into Jalal Murray fighting against Bolo, and it's just not as good. Not as good. I think if they gave Cynthia Rothrock more time and they gave her the ending, I think it could have been maybe something special. But they didn't, and
interesting.
That's it. But overall, the story is, it's kind of fun. It's got these horror elements to it, as you have this person who's hunting these martial artists down with a specific style. I mean, it's pretty evident who it is if you look at the packaging of the movie and all. But it's different. It's definitely more entertaining for me than China O'Brien.
Okay. All right. Damn. Again, I'm watching the wrong movies. If China O'Brien was my litmus test, and you're like, yeah, all the movies I watched so far are still better than that. It's like, what the fuck? Holy shit. All right. Then let's talk about, if you don't mind, let's move on to. Okay, let me talk about a movie that you didn't watch that I did, right? And this will tie in together with another movie that technically both you and I watched. Let's talk about Martial Law. And if we're on the topic of movies where the poster makes it seem like Cynthia Rothrock is the star, this is the worst culprit. You see a big ass poster of her in the foreground, in police uniform, and she has her gun up, and she's smacked up. It's only her on the cover. She is not even a supporting character. She's like barely a supporting character. She is Chad McQueen, who's the real main character of the movie. She is his like I can't even call it girlfriend, like side chick. Like, he sleeps with her a lot of times in the movie, to a point where I'm like, why is there another sex scene? Like, just move on with the story. It's like, like, fine, one sex scene is fine. Like, why are we having 3? It's the same.
You
2 actors.
have my interest.
Yes. Hey, early 90s Cynthia Rothrock. I don't blame you. So, hey, what is the story? Real quickly. Chad McQueen is a cop. He has a brother who is not a cop, quite the opposite. He's working for David Carradine, who is let's call him a mob boss. And
David Carradine's in it.
David Carradine's in it. Yes,
Cool.
I know. The story gets just telling you that gets you all choked up. I'm always gonna make those jokes when David Carradine's involved. Anyways, David Carradine is the villain, and he is none the wiser that Chad McQueen's brother is a mole for him. And there's honestly like the first. God, I wanted to say like first half, but honestly, the first 75% of the movie kind of feels very repetitive because there is one character in the movie who really desperately wants to get in good graces with David Carradine and be just admired by just because he loves David Carradine so much, he wants to be part of his team or his gang. So he's trying to get Chad McQueen's brother, like in trouble, like and reveal who he is, like he's actually, the brother of a cop. So you would think that would be the end of it, right? It's like, oh, he's a traitor, end of story. And then, you take it from there. Like, no, my God, like then David Carradine's like, I don't believe you. And then it becomes like a chase. And then for some reason, the guy who's like admiring David Carradine's like still wants to get in the Grant gang, even though David Carradine ordered him to die. So I was like, wait, what? And in that respect, the story feels a little bit repetitive, or like it feels like it doesn't go anywhere quick enough. Okay. And I'm just like, dude, come on! I get like, and while this is all happening, because you realize that that's really the main story. And Chad McQueen's just kind of like, even though he's the main character, he's just kind of waiting for something to happen to his brother before he can take action. So no spoilers, but something does happen to the brother, and then the last 10 minutes of movie actually is like the resolution. So nothing happens for 90% of the movie, and then at the last 10%, it's like all the action happens at this point.
Does Cynthia Rothrock fight?
Yes.
In the end.
In the end. There are fights throughout the movie, but I'd say the bulk of it happens at the end. Actually, it goes on for a long time. Chad McQueen, I don't think we've talked about him at all. He has some talent, but I wouldn't say I don't think he has the on-screen timing or the rhythm of a Cynthia Rothrock, right? Cynthia Rothrock is just like running circles around him. She fights alongside him as in the final confrontation. Chad McQueen is fighting David Carradine, and it's just kind of pathetic because David Carradine's he might have portrayed a kung fu master on television, but it's like, dude, like if you put him in a real martial arts movie, it's like he just looks like a really old man who's just pantomiming the moves. And
does he do the Tai Chi hands?
Yes. That's his thing.
That's what he did in Lone Wolf McQuade.
Yep.
Against Chuck Norris.
Yep, that's what he does.
Maybe I guess that's his style.
Yeah, he just has to pretend like he knows something, and people will buy it. But it's fine, to her whole generation, he is the go-to kung fu guy, right? So whatever. But watching him go against Chad McQueen, is just kind of pathetic.
Is it pathetic because he can't fight?
No. Well, it's not pathetic because he can't fight. It's just pathetic that we need to feel the need to hide it. It's like, why do we need to keep casting David Carradine in these roles? That's my thing.
Because he's kung fu.
No,
because he knows kung fu.
If he's an older gentleman who doesn't actually know any martial arts. He should be the head honcho, the dude who's just in the shadows, ordering his henchmen to do his bidding. Even Kill Bill Volume 2 figured that out. He just throws 2 moves and then he dies at the end. You know, like, whatever. So David Carradine, I think he's obviously the highlight in the movie, but he, you know, at least he's giving it his all. He doesn't look too drunk. You know, like, 'cause I know during this time, you know, like he was starring in a lot of movies where he was just like phoning in his performance, but he does a serviceable job. Anyways, I talked about this movie enough. I think I barely mentioned Cynthia Rothrock because fucking false advertising, dude. She's like barely in the movie. Yeah, and let's wrap up with the last movie that I watched, and I was like, this movie is probably the best, minus China O'Brien, like, was the best out of the several movies. I'm not mentioning a couple of the sequels that I already watched, but I'm not going to cover them for today. I watched Martial Law 2, and the movie that both of you and I are going to talk about is Rage and Honor. I also watched the sequel, but we won't talk about the sequel. Out of all these movies, I think Rage and Honor 1 was the most competent, with the exception of China O'Brien. And then you watched it, and you're like, "Holy shit, this movie's so boring!" And I was like,
"It was! Oh my god, it's so boring."
Again, I watched the wrong movies.
You picked all the wrong ones. When we talk about when you and I discuss planning for our show, a lot of times we're just messaging each other. Hey, I watched this. Okay, I think we could do this. And you're like, okay, cool. I watched this. You know, so it's, you know, we have a back and forth. You know, giving small little anecdotes on movies. And you said, oh yeah, watch Rage and Honor. We can. I think we can talk about it. I was like, okay, cool. I watched it. It's just like, what? I was like, I can't stay awake. This is so boring.
Dude, you would hate martial law then. I didn't even give a recommendation on that. No, I do not recommend martial law. It's boring too. It's like, you know, like if it wasn't clear enough, not enough happens to keep your engagement, and then the last 10% of it doesn't save it. So here we are with Rage and Honor, and I was like, I guess this is the best one, with a little question mark at the end.
Sure.
And then you watch it, and like, it's boring. I'm like, holy shit! I'm telling you, Zero, it doesn't get better from here.
It does. We needed to just watch even more Cynthia Rothrock movies.
Yeah, that's probably.
But Will, what is Rage and Honor about? Because man, I kind of forgot everything about this movie.
I watched this a couple times, so I at least, and also there's a reason why I watched this several times, and it'll make sense when we talk about our final films of the evening. Rage and Honor is about Richard Norton. In our Cynthia Rothrock episode, is about Richard Norton, who gets framed. He's a bodyguard of sorts. He's also a cop, but he gets framed for murder of another cop, a crooked cop rather. And he needs to recover a tape that will exonerate him of his crimes. And that's it. That's the story. I literally described it in like 10 seconds.
Yes, but what's Cynthia Rothrock doing there again? I can't remember.
I don't know.
She's just there.
She's just there. Tell me, that's the theme. It's the theme of the night. She's just sometimes just there in the movie. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is your character doing?
Oh, she's a teacher of the student who filmed the murder, and so they're trying to get that videotape back. And she's the teacher. She happens to know martial arts, and so she gets sucked into this whole thing. Yeah,
but that doesn't. I don't know. I felt like that was a really flimsy explanation.
So it was a weird
part of it.
Roundabout way of tying them all together. I mean, it works when you watch it in the movie, but when we say it out loud, it's pretty dumb.
It's exactly like Richard Norton. You're on your own, because like this tape that is going to exonerate him. No one knows where it is. The kid who recorded it gets hospitalized, and Richard Norton is on his journey to try to find the tape while he's trying to avoid cops and gang members who are trying to kill him. And you're like, okay, dude, you have no leads. How the fuck are you supposed to find this stupid tape? And you know, eventually, miraculously, the tape does surface, and it leads to, obviously our main story of the movie, and it leads to at least. God, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. The best fight in the movie is probably between Richard Norton and Cynthia Rothrock, just because they're forced to fight one another, and it's still not that good.
Yeah.
It's still not that good. It's not.
No,
that
it's
engaging.
not. It's not. Lady Dragon's fight is much better.
I'm sure it is. I'm very sure it is. This movie is very emblematic of American editing, right? It's very Americanized.
Like edit on every hit.
Yeah. Well, maybe not that bad, but it leans more that direction, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no, the story, like you said, is super boring, so boring, and they dole out information in the slowest way possible. But this is still the most entertaining movie out of all the ones that I've covered. And the bar is so low. so low.
I remember watching this, and I don't know if this has happened to you before when you watch a movie and you zone out mentally, so you're actually not retaining any information from what's coming into your eyeballs. And I kind of zonked out of it, and we were at the scene when she's at this biker bar, I believe, or some sort of establishment where there's a bunch of women bikers.
Yeah.
And I thought, am I still watching the same movie? What's happening here?
Yeah,
Where did this come from?
That's like same exact scene I just mentioned between their fight. It's that one kind of takes you out of left field, comes out of left field, and you're like, what? Okay. I do like when you're watching it in context, like, okay, they're being forced to fight one another because a character is making them, but it doesn't really need to happen. It kind of just slows the movie down for no reason, in my opinion. And again, the movie's slow enough, so I'm like, oh, why does this need to happen? Well, the movie's directed by Terrence Winkless, who also did Blood Fist. So now it makes me really curious if Blood Fist is going to be anything like this. And one other call I want to make is that the main villain of the movie is Brian Thompson.
Oh, Brian Thompson, yes.
Yeah, played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. This will be glorious.
Best line readings ever. I love.
Yeah.
I love his performance.
Yeah, he's not chewing the scenery here, but
he's kind of silent from what I remember.
Kind of.
He doesn't really say much.
Yeah, we have a final fight where he's the main villain, right? He's a big bad, so he fights Cynthia Rothrock, and then ultimately fights basically similar to what you just mentioned with Tiger Claws, where Cynthia Rothrock fights the main bad guy at the end, and then she's removed, and then Richard Norton needs to step in and fight him. It's like, damn it. Like, I want this to be a Cynthia Rothrock experience, and everything becomes, a male co-star taking over. Yeah, and the way the movie ends, and I'm not gonna spoil it. The way the movie ends, it's like kind of bittersweet. It's like you realize that like the hero's journey has been kind of like pointless this whole time, and he's just like a wanderer from now on. He's like he never got what he wanted to, and he just needs to run away now. It's like, what? And that's the movie.
Oh yeah, I recall that ending now, and yeah, the movie had no impact on me whatsoever. I took nothing from it.
Yeah, and that's Rage and Honor. And is that all the movies you want to talk about before we talk about our final films of the evening?
Yeah. So we're gonna go into our Patreon section now, where we generally discuss more action, more plot of the conversation we've been having. But since this is kind of a movie marathon type episode where we discuss a bunch of things, we're going to go into a secret film or films that you won't know about unless you subscribe to us on Patreon. So if you do that, you're going to get to hear this. You're going to get to hear me be so confused about the next film, because it is mind-boggling how like lost I was watching this. And I watched it twice. So if you want to hear that conversation where we break down some more action, consider subscribing to us on Patreon.
Yeah, we'll leave it as a mystery. But this is gonna be interesting conversation for sure, because just because of the history and the everything revolving around the films, and that'll be my only hint for the evening. So yeah, with that said, let's talk about these movies. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts.
That was an interesting Cynthia Rothrock movie to discuss.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, Will?
Yeah, that is a lot of movies. We talked about a lot of Cynthia Rothrock movies, and this is also in the same year that Cynthia is also releasing 2 new movies. So, hey, I'm glad that she's still making films. I won't say that I'm going to watch them all, but I'm glad she's still making films and she's still kicking it, literally and figuratively. I'm gonna, she's aware of it, so I'm just gonna reiterate what she says. Her best stuff was not only in the 80s, but it was also from Hong Kong. All right, so once she came back to America, I wouldn't say it went downhill from there, but it's not her best outings at that point. So right. We covered a lot of movies. So if you're curious about anything after she got back to the West, if you're looking for some good ones, I'll tell you right now, don't watch Rage and Honor or Martial Law, but you have some of our recommends, and yeah.
Yeah, I gave it a lot of praise, which was what's the name of the movie now?
Lady Dragon.
Lady Dragon, yes. I think it's one of those things where it's very, very low budget, very, very, I don't even think it got a Blu-ray release. I think it's just DVD. It's stuck in that 480p kind of quality. So it just looks just blah. But
watch it on my iPod Generation 2.
But yeah, considering how low budget it is, I'm very surprised at how well the action came across. I mentioned earlier it got really repetitive with the editing, which is a shame because I think another editor could have saved it and it would have been more memorable in my opinion. But that's probably one of that, Lady Dragon, and then what was the other movie we talked about?
Tiger
Claws. That and Tiger Claws, I think, are the best fights I've seen from her so far. So it's her and Richard Norton, and then her and Bolo. So yeah, yes, you have to understand. She came to, she went back to America, and she can only be as good as the time they give her and the action director she gets to work with. And unfortunately, I think she didn't get to work with too many really good ones, really elevated ones that could maximize the tiny schedule she's on.
Right.
So considering that, I think that Lady Dragon and Tiger Claws are pretty good use of what she can do.
Yeah, well, we left our last movies as a mystery for you non-patron listeners, but that one I'd say it's a curious watch. I'm just gonna leave it as that, and I'm not gonna mention any more than that, but it's a curious watch. I'd say for that one, if you guys are curious, subscribe to Patreon, and then maybe that might interest you, and listening to us might interest you, going to check those movies out. But yeah, I mean, not to say that she's not to say that her movies past coming back to the States were terrible. I think that all the things that you mentioned before are some attributing factors, but also just kind of wish there was more Cynthia in these Cynthia Rothrock movies. I think that's a recurring theme. She's just barely in them, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing her enough justice. But then it really is the movies aren't doing it justice, because she's front center in the cover and she's barely in these movies, and then the action subpar is what is going on? It's we're just not getting good representation of her. So
yeah,
it's just a shame. Is what I'm trying to get at.
So with that being said, Lady Dragon is probably going to be your best bet, at least to my knowledge, because she's the star. She doesn't have she's got like a little young sidekick at some point that's kind of like talking to her as she's rehabilitating and she's learning from this mute master. But he's not there the whole movie. It really is the Cynthia Rothrock show. For once, she's the star, and she's front and center with like all the action. Minus where she needs to get stunt doubled for like the car chase scene. Sure. So like, yeah, I think that's the one to do it. Like, we still have so many more movies that we would have to cover from her, but in our deep dive, in our marathoning of her films, like Lady Dragon, that's like she's the star and she's doing some decent action outside of what she did from Hong Kong. Yeah,
I mean, is that cheating? Because it's technically kind of an Indonesian movie. I don't know. Right. Yeah. I'm very curious if we were able to somehow fully strictly adhere to like American movies. Would we have been able to find the diamond in the rough? And I mean, even for our Patreon episode or movie, it's kind of like cheating.
It's kind of a joke because of what happens with those movies. But I guess if people can recommend a Cynthia Rothrock English language film where she's the star and she doesn't have to get assisted so much in the fight scenes and they're good, I would love to watch that. So please let us know. So
someone in the comments could be like, yeah, no retreat, no surrender. And 2. I'm like, you one? She's like, that's the one you haven't watched, right?
I haven't watched it. Yeah. But you covered it already. Yes. So that's okay. Yeah, we covered a few of her films. So
yes.
If you're gonna say stuff like, no retreat, no surrender to Yes, Madam, of course.
Mm-hmm. No, now we're going to Hong Kong. So.
Yeah. Magic Crystal.
We did a lot of Cynthia Rothrock movies already, so a lot of her Hong Kong outings. So check out those episodes if you're curious. We actually think we had a lot of high praises for them. Go check out the Magic Crystal one, because that is an episode where I will flat out tell you my opinion of that was wrong. That movie's great. All right, I'm gonna tell you that flat out. All right, that's how I'm gonna end this episode. Like, I'm wrong sometimes.